David Zhu, Purple, Zaria Paleologos is my manager, and I'm running as an independent.
What is your slogan?
David delivers.
In 1 minute or less, tell us why you want to run for board and why people should vote for you.
Sure. Look, I came from New Zealand as someone who didn't know a lot of people on campus. It was a very unfamiliar setting, and coming here and being able to find a home in the many clubs and societies that USU offers really made me have a great start to uni, and I love the campus to bits, I love the students, I love the USU. It's obviously been a tough year, but I think I've got the experience, I've got the skills, I've got the policies, I've got the vision to get it done, bring us back to the good old days, but make it even better. Tough question. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix.
Favorite movie?
The Godfather Part 2.
Favorite club or society?
That would be the Kiwi Student Society.
Favorite Pulp article?
Favorite Pulp article? Oh man, were you guys the one that did the ice chocolate ranking? Yeah, definitely that one.
Favorite USU outlet?
Ooh, tough choice, but I would go with Abercrombie Terrace. One, I think I want to implement a funding model that means no matter how big or small you are as a club or society, you get the funding you need. I think obviously with the new funding changes, we've heard from the engineers, we've heard from the Arts Society, and although smaller clubs may have benefited under the new model, I want to find a way forward that benefits everyone. Secondly, it's about student welfare and representation. COVID's hit us all hard. That means using the bully pulpit of the USU Board to fight against things like 12-week semesters, fight against things like trimesters, but also things that making sure everyone's in a good space, providing support for mental health. And thirdly, I want to see a diverse and sustainable campus. That means more diversity initiatives. That means reducing food waste at USU outlets. I think it doesn't communicate enough with people on the ground, no matter if that's clubs and societies executives or if it's just everyday students. They need to talk to us more.
So how would you address that?
I think it's not an easy fix, but it's not a solution that I think takes a massive amount of brain power or effort. It means that the board directors and the presidents and the executives make more of an effort to go down to the executives, sit down, schedule meetings with them and say, what are your concerns? What are you interested in? Or just take a walk around Welcome Week and stop by and talk to everyday students and go, how's your Welcome Week experience been?
So do you think the current board members haven't been doing that enough?
I wouldn't name any of the current board members, nor I would say specifically in particular the current board hasn't been doing enough. I think it's a systemic problem that the USU has had for a while. So. Sure. Well, look, firstly, I want to say I back free speech. I think it's very, very important. But, and this is a very, very important but, at the point at which you are a clubs and society that falls under the banner of the USU, you carry our branding and you get our funding, then you have to do things in a way that aligns with the core values and the missions of the USU. Obviously, I think what the Catholic Society did was not representative or reflective of remotely anywhere close to what the USU stands for as an organisation. As a board director in that situation, I would obviously firstly make sure that our brand, our reputation and our values are defended. But secondly, and I think more critically, like I said, free speech is important, but the water stops at the mark at which there's a real potential to cause actual harm to real students walking around campus, right? And I understand it's currently under investigation, so I won't speculate or speak to the motives of the Catholic Society, but I think at the very best for them, it was callous or reckless disregard for the very real suffering and lived personal experiences of many, many disabled students around campus. So look, again, I can't say without knowing the full details of the unfolding investigation how I might vote as a member of the board, but I can say as a candidate, I absolutely condemn it in the strongest terms possible. I think there is room for some advocacy from the role of USU Board Director. I mentioned, for instance, fighting against things like 12-week semesters or trimesters, so it doesn't have to be completely apolitical. But the reason why I am running as an independent is because I think you can't have the interests of the student body accurately represented by a very narrow set of campus stupol factional interests. So as a USU Board Director, you shouldn't be making the decision based off, I'm in Switch, I'm a Liberal, I'm a member of Student Unity, and so that's a decision that a member of Student Unity or a member of Switch should be making. You should be going, is this what is going to benefit students' campus experience the most? And then whether or not this is going to benefit the USU as an organisation. I think right now, financially, we've recovered a lot, and obviously we've brought staff capacity back up to 100% as recent as March. So the main thing really to bring back campus culture is go hard or go home with the funding. I think we need to think big. We need to give money to clubs and societies. We need to give them as much room as possible, as little constraint, obviously staying within government's legal constraints, as little constraint as possible for them to run the events that they want to so that we can bring it back.
Can I just follow up on one of the points you made before? You said you wanted
Sure.
to introduce some more diversity initiatives. Can you expand a bit on what that means and what that might look like in practice?
Yeah, sure. So there are a few things. So one, obviously, it looks like things like maintaining the existing ethnocultural, queer, women's spaces that we already have, putting a bit more money into that, but also looks like things like initiatives for international students and students who are overseas, right? So right now on campus, we don't have a lot of representation for international students who are doing remote learning, who are stuck overseas. It's about putting more funding and resources into things that make their campus experience a little bit better. But look, as well as obviously I think a lot of minorities and more vulnerable groups on campus, there are also certain groups who may not be vulnerable or minorities, but we should still bring in to the USU fold. And what I mean by that is, look, I am a member of college. I think there are some absolutely lovely people there. It's a fantastic community, but that's a community that sometimes I think feels very divorced from the rest of campus life. I'd want to bring them in. So a few things. The first thing is, I think, set up some sort of feedback or communication channel to sort of hear from them. Obviously, I think a lot of what the USU is doing now is sort of cater towards people who are here in person, which means this feedback that we get is going to be from the people who are here in person. Something as simple as putting up on the website or in Facebook groups, look, we're from the USU, we know you've been suffering, can you give us a bit of inspiration as to what we should do? But also secondly, it means that maybe we've had Pulp Fest, but that's something, if you're an international student stuck in China, you would not have been able to experience. Running something like an online event catered towards international students would bring up their campus experience a lot. So I'll give you an example, for instance. I have been on debates committee as a development officer, and we were approached by someone in, I think, the sort of international students China program, who approached us to say, can you do like a demo program / workshop program for Chinese USU students who are stuck overseas and want to do debating, but can't, because obviously they're not here in person. So we went over there, we did it over Zoom, we did a demo debate, and then we did a workshop. And that was really good. They could engage with the clubs and societies without actually having to be here. So what I mean is more of those things, not just in debating, other societies as well. And the USU would give the societies the necessary funding and support to do that. Well, in terms of most like to work with, I would obviously like to preface that I absolutely love everyone. I think everyone seems like they'll be very competent, but the nature of it is, of course, the people that you've talked to the most over these couple of weeks since we've been introduced are also going to be the people you sort of know and like the most. So I've talked quite a bit to Yining Du, Yiman Jiang, and Surya. I think they'd be absolutely fantastic. Look, I don't really have any board directors that I don't think deserve to be elected. Everyone, I think, has got a good resume and everyone can do a good job. If it really came down to it, I guess, obviously Joe is running a bit of a joke campaign and I think he'd be the first one to tell you that. So maybe that's the only one I wouldn't like to see on the board. But that's not to say that I don't find the whole campaign to be incredibly entertaining and good on them.
What about current board members?
Sure. As in, same question, who I'd like to work with the most? Yeah, sure. So a couple. So firstly, Ben Hines. Obviously, he is a really good friend of mine, but above that, I think he's a really, really smart guy. He's very competent, and he cares a lot about the future of the USU. But equally, I've at times talked to Irene, who is going to be immediate past president, and she's an incredible, incredible woman. And if elected, I'd look forward to working with her. And third and finally, big fan of Ruby Lotz. I think she's awesome, also very competent, cares a lot about the USU. Look, I think as part of the eventual fiduciary duty I would have as a board director, I would genuinely need to sit down, listen to what the candidates would be offering as president, so their vision sort of for the board and strategic governance, and then I would try and make an informed decision. So I can't give you a definite, I would support this candidate or another answer, but I will say, obviously, that I've just mentioned I'm good friends with Ben. I think he's a great guy, and preliminarily, I wouldn't mind seeing him in the big chair.
You are vice president of the Liberal Club, yet running as an independent. Seeing as you will seemingly receive considerable backing from the Liberals, can you explain this decision?
Receiving no more considerable backing from the Liberals than I am. I hope than I am would be from colleges or law or whatever other society I've been, I think, fortunate enough to be involved in. So I would say, yes, I am a member of the Liberal Club, but the Sydney University Liberal Club is not involved strictly in student politics, and any support I get from them will be purely on a personal basis. So I am still an independent.